This is Module 2 in a free 9-part series on how to prepare your very first tender response. So the first document we need to look at, obviously, is the actual invitation document itself. This is what you receive, and then you have to produce a response to it. So the first order of the day before you do anything is to decide whether you are actually going to bid or not. Now, the bid/no-bid decision is based around, firstly, how much this tender fits your overall business strategy, whether there are any unacceptable risks embedded in it, and also whether you've got the ability to provide the services or not. So each of these contribute to your overall decision to bid or not. If you decide not to bid, then it's a good idea to let the organisation know. So just drop them a short letter thanking them for the invitation or the opportunity to bid, whether you're invited or not, whether you responded to an advertisement or not, and advising that on this occasion you won't be submitting a bid for the following very good reasons. That's good feedback for them, and they know how competitive the field is going to be. If everyone withdraws, then they know there's something wrong with their document and they haven't lost a lot of time to find out. Now, bidding for work, as we all know, can be a time-consuming, expensive and tedious procedure, and there is a risk of failure. So there are a few things that you can do to mitigate that risk of failure. Firstly, you should never spray your tenders out there working on hope marketing. If you put 100 tenders, bids or proposals out and you only win 10 of them, then you've won 10, but you've got a 1 in 10 chance of success. Whereas if you narrow down your criteria and only bid for those where you think you have a fairly high probability of success, then you may only need to put 30 bids out there in order to win 10. Which is a far more cost-effective and efficient way of achieving the same result, not to mention far less stressful. So the sort of criteria that should be running through your head when deciding to bid or not is, first of all, is there an incumbent or is this a greenfields tender? And if there is an incumbent, are they performing well? If they are, then there's a high overhead for the buyer in changing suppliers. And there's a very high likelihood that the incumbent, because of their in-depth and intimate knowledge of the client and the client's relationship with them, that they'll just be reselected. So if they are performing well, then you need to think very seriously about whether you're actually going to put a bid in or not, because often you're asked just to inspire the incumbent to sharpen their pencil. Secondly, do they actually know you? If they've never heard of you and you don't have a strong brand like IBM or Qantas, then you've actually got a very low chance of being selected because you represent a risk of being an unknown company. So if they've never heard of you and your brand is not strong, there's a very high probability that you will not be selected. Thirdly, if you are known, what's your relationship with the client like? Do you have a good standing with the client? Do you have friends inside who like you and are supporting your bid? If you don't have a good standing, and if there has been some bad blood, or if there's a history in the background, I would be very, very cautious about spending the time and money to submit a bid to that company. Fourthly, is the scope within your capability? Is this something you're going to tack on to what you do as a core business, or is it actually your core business? If it's your core business, fine. But if it's something that's a stretch, it may represent too big a challenge to your team to hit the ground running when you first get selected, and the buyer will know. Now, this is one a lot of companies don't think about. They try to reach for the holy grail, the one big contract. But if it represents more than 30% of your gross annual turnover, then you represent too big a financial risk to the client. It's unlikely that they will select you because they will see you as not having experience in delivering the same kind of service to the same scale as their business, and they'll see you as being too small and too immature or not ready to take on this size of a contract. Is the work important to you? How important is it? If it's just something that you're bidding for because you think you've got a good opportunity to win, but you're not actually bothered if you win or not, then that will translate through to the delivery as well. And so I suggest that you think seriously about whether you're actually going to bid. And lastly, are you actually ready to begin bidding for work? Have you got all the collateral? Have you got the testimonials, the business procedures, the quality systems? Do you have what it takes to be selected? Is your business collateral good enough to inform the buyer that you are able to do the work at a low risk to them? If not, then feel free to go to my website and download the bid readiness checklist to see what it is that you need to prepare in order to be more bid ready. Once you decide, it's a good idea to document your decision. A spreadsheet will be fine. And of course, you should also use the same spreadsheet to capture the result if you did in fact end up tendering. That way, you can keep a running tally of your bidding efforts and develop strategies around your success rate as you begin to measure your progress. There's a free online calculator available on my website, www.bidbuddy.com.au. Feel free to use this to structure your thinking. Otherwise, there's a simple template calculator available in the course notes that you can use. I've also included a template for capturing your decision. I hope you've enjoyed this video. In the next video, we will discuss how to get started once you have actually decided to proceed.